Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Brendan Berg. Just blessing you guys with another share of a video. I really want to jump right into it. I want to really talk about, um, the division that in the United States and what the dumb societies really want to do is reclassify and recategorize us. Instead of being called like Black American or African American, they want us to self-identify with a particular origin in Africa. And that's all peachy and cream, but the thing about it is you got a significant majority of the population that would deny that very dignity of knowing where their origin is. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, you have a lot of people that's now that do go through DNA testing, but and I ain't saying that's not the best solution to understand where where your genes are coming from, but they had proofs and also that a lot of people in those clinics have a little bit of a distortion in their data. Some of them will buff up the numbers, some of them will decrease numbers, so it's not 100% guaranteed truth in that as well. But to find out origin of where you're kind of coming from, that's the best thing that's available for a lot of Black Americans. But yeah, man, and also too, you got a lot of people, like you got your Hebrews, you got your Hebrewites, you got your people that claiming Aborigine, indigenous, you got a lot of different types of people that got some Black Americans that don't want to identify with nothing with Africa or anything, and just want to say they're Black, and that's it. So you have a lot of different types of group of people of melanin complexion, and you have a lot of different separations. But this is separation is but it's also a self-separation. As a within a community. And I tell a lot of people, like, I talk to a lot of people that claim they're indigenous. Like, I see people that claim Hebrew. They like to tell me, that we're the children of God, we're the chosen people of God. Then you got your, the indigenous, the Native American Blacks. I'll be saying, yeah, we're original for America, and we've been here first. We was here first. We was here before Africa, and we devolved. I said, look, and I always tell them, well, what was the origin of evolution then? And before, I always tell a lot of people, before you get to like the Native American, then you understand, then you also get your hybrid, because Australians is where a lot of, they were, now I will say, they were one of the first groups to actually come to the Americas, and I'll say that with guaranteed facts. They already proved that. You had the Clovis people from Siberia, but that was like about 10,000 years. But I always told people, and I debate some of my friends, and he's saying, and I actually told him, like, look, man, that land bridge was already gone before the Clovis people got to North America. He said, man, they didn't walk across that no goddamn land bridge, man. They sailed. All right, they sailed. They had some type of technology, and they actually used canoe. Because you look at Eskimos and certain like of the Aleutian people, they actually had already had um, oceanic navigation. They were already they already had a seafaring ability at that time with the canoes that they already had. So I told them like they already have boats. They were already selling the cross. Actually, boats is one of the most earliest inventions in the ancient world that they came up with. People were sailing beyond 4 to 5,000 years. So I told people, um, but they still came from somewhere. They migrated somewhere. Um, like the Hebrews, I always talk about Hebrews. I said, well, Canaan is a region, but before you came out with the Middle Eastern term, all that area was actually part of Africa. There wasn't no such thing as Asia. Asia didn't really come to the equation till you got past the Caucasus Mountains. That's when you pass the Caucasus Mountain or you pass the Aryan Mountain, that was the borderline of so-called Asia. So, but through the Balkans and through the parts of where Turkey's at, and so far, a lot of places that was beneath Turkey or right there where Israel, Lebanon was actually part of Africa. Now, I'm not just saying that because of empires that was actually was part of. Now, it was also part of many African empires. I mean, it was part of Carthage Empire. It was part of Egypt empires. Um, they were they were part they were part of the Nubia, Nubia Empire at one time. But I always tell people that actually settled in that area were early Africans. They were early African. They were black people. Like the belief system that a lot of people in the Judaism and all that come from a very ancient African spirituality that comes. Some do come from Kemet, but you have that other African spirituality that also came from other parts of Africa at that time. So, I was trying to tell people like you guys can say Hebrew all you guys want, but Hebrew you still was part of you still was part of a group of people that were deemed as Africans at that time. They were the Canaanite. Hebrew was a tribe, but but Canaanites was actually the actual origin of people that the Hebrew tribes, or you want to say Hebrew people, derived from. So there's a lot for some reason, but you have a lot want to be a separation and a category and a declassification and a decategorizing group that actually already if you look at the evidence in the history, you can already tell that their origins is African. But like I said, in American society, in American education, there's a lot of false pretense of teaching truth, and actually I point out a lot of it. This is what I'll think about it. If you cannot tell the truth of the founding of the United States, or the rise of Rome, or the beginning and the reason of the Renaissance, and so far and so forth, or just say what was the origin of a color caste slavery system. If 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 some reason the education cannot stay true to their word and teach truth, then it's a false. It's deemed as false. It's deemed as inadequate and obsolete. But I always tell black people, look, man, you're African. There's no other way around it. As Australoids, you know, they actually, some of them went north, some of them went south. So they were called they were called proto Australoids. You know what I'm saying? They were like one of the third waves to leave. They left Africa about over 60,000 years ago. They got to the areas of what you see, like Australia and Austronesian region, around 50,000 years ago. Now you had a lot of people from Southeast Asia, or East Timor, or you was deemed as Polynesian and so forth. They started migrating, but the thing was they didn't start migrating until like around between 30,000 years ago. So they were already they were like one of they kind of came a little bit later after the Australoids came, but the Australoids kept advancing. There's evidence that they showed up in America about 50,000 years ago. So that's 40,000 years before the Clovis people of Siberia migrated into North America. Because when you think about it, I always tell people, the land bridge, when the land bridge existed, it existed like 12,000 years ago, right? About 10,000 years ago, the land bridge was totally covered. It was totally submerged in water. So, I always tell people, how can people walk across something that's not there or is submerged? And you got some people that will say, oh well, it wasn't totally, it was just ice. I said, I don't believe that, man. I told people, okay, I'm not saying 2,500 years ago in dealing with a geographic type of term or a space and time reality, that, 2,500 years ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. But there's flooding. Yes, it can happen. I just been to Houston. I've seen New Orleans. Yes, flooding can submerge an entire city within days. So 2,500 years, I can see an ocean swallowing up a little bit of land. I can see it. What I tell people is in historic evidence and facts, the origins of Native Americans, because let's be real, let's say, you had two different types of racial of human beings. You had the Australoids, you had a Mongoloids, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what the Clovis were, they were Mongoloids. So they came. There's a 40,000 years. There's a 40,000 years gap. And I always tell people, they came to America in 50-something thousand years ago. And the Clovis people of Siberia got to North America 10,000 years ago. That's a 40,000 years gap. Plus, when you think about it, I always look at the indigenous people, because you look at the indigenous people and then now this is go on both sides. I think when they traded, I think they were already trading at that time. You know what I'm saying? I think, like I said, I think there was not just them coming over, but several thousand years later, I think there were trading going on then. You know what I'm saying? Like I always tell people, the Aztec or the Olmecs, when you see the ruins in the Olmec, you look at the Incas, you look at some of the Mayas, you know, they even said there's ruins they found in California of the ruins of where the actual name came from was the actual civilization that were called Californians. And they had a civilization that spanned almost 4,000 years. But they had a whole mix of people. You had people coming from Asia. You had people coming from parts of Africa. You had people that was coming from other parts of the Americas. So they already had a very advanced, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial civilization at that time, like up and down the whole entire Americas. So I always tell people I think there was already a global trading going on in America way before the Europeans even thought of sailing ships over there to the Americas. But at the same time, I tell black people the Australians come from Africa. Evolution come out of Africa. If we talk about human beings, 100% human beings, it comes out of Africa. Now they found studies. They have the people like Melanesians and there's some parts of Australia, like people in the Austronesian region, and they even now the Polynesians and Micronesians. There's a little bit of a very minor significance of genes, of genetics traces with those two groups in them two regions. And I'm not saying that it hasn't happened. There probably is some genetic traits, but not a huge significance that they included in that as well. But they do include the melanation. And they came to a study that they found unknown DNA in their genes. But they say it's not of Homo sapiens. So I always tell people there were many different species of hominids in Africa at one point in time. I always tell that. That's why I tell a lot of people, like, look, you got a lot of like the outer Africa theory. Yes, there was a migration out of Africa, but at the same time, you got to put in account that there were other species of hominids that was coming out of Africa as well. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Neanderthal came out of Africa, but they were not human beings. They come from a whole different species, a whole different origin, a whole different evolution process. Same with the Diziovians. The Diziovians was a hybrid. They came from early Homo sapiens mated with Neanderthal. And then so that's where you come up with the Diziovians. And you have some Diziovians mating with the Neanderthal. So you had a lot of different hybrids and coming out of that area of Asia and some parts in that part of Europe. You know what I'm saying? Plus you had the early the Cro-Magnons. That was the European term of early humans coming into Europe. You know what I'm saying? But they were like in some necessity. They were Homo sapiens. They were human beings, but they were a sub-human sapiens. They wasn't like I said, they were still genetically evolving what we are. Yes, our ancestors were still somewhat like an early form of what modern man is. So you had three different species right there coming out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, there was probably multiple Homo species that was coming out of Africa as well, that mixed with early human beings and spawns off many hybrids. So I always tell black people that if you're saying that I'm gonna say this. I'll tell people like, well, you know, they found DNA trace of unknown species, so you're not technically 100% human. So do you accept the fact that you're not 100% human being? And you got some black people that be like, no, I'm not no ape. I said, well, that's where Australia's genetics imprints are. You know what I'm saying? They got a unknown DNA of an unknown species that's not Homo sapien. So if I tell a lot of black people, I tell that claim a lot of native or Aborigine, I said that's a fact that you have to claim that you're not all human. You're a hybrid. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight. Look, I got Native American blood in me. I got white man blood in me. I don't know if I'm 100% human being. Hopefully I am. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to be like a hybrid. I mean, who want to be a hybrid? Who want to be classified as a hybrid? That make you feel like you are animal. You're not animal. You're not a human being. You're not an intelligent being that you think you are. If you basically come from straight animals. So, but like the Hebrews, I tell them like Semitic. You know what I'm saying? Canaanite is actually, if you really want to be, it's actually Semitic. And that's actually I think it was Semitic. I think Canaanite. That was the language a lot of Hebrews were speaking at the time. Yes, I told a lot of people, and it's interchangeable because I told them Hebrew is a definition of Canaan. And Canaan was also a language a lot of Hebrews did speak at that time. So I told people, man, you're a Canaanite. Canaanites were African. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand, yes, I know about the Egypt. I tell people about the Egypt all the time. Yes, they did go into Egypt, but you forgot Canaan at that time was actually part of Egypt. Okay, it was actually at the time they didn't really call it Egypt. They call it Kemet. So it was part of Kemet at that time. Like they said, they had scrolls that's over 10,000 years old. Conclude that they do military exercise there. So, and they had a lot of Egyptians at the time lived there as well. So, or Kemet. So it's interchangeable. I told people, if you don't want to accept it now, but you're African. Your origin is still African. You can say Hebrew you want. You can say Canaanite is still derived from the same origin. Same way with all the people that claim Native American. Your ancestors was way here. They were here for a very long time. I will admit, they've been here for a very long time. They've been here for at least 50,000 years. That's a good long time. But they migrated out of Southern Africa to get there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just common knowledge of it. I just want to point that out because I know a lot of people have been really trying to categorize themselves as something that's non-African. But even though Africa is your evolution, not just your evolution, but it's your origin. It's your origin. It's your point of origin of evolution, of becoming a self-knowledge aware being. So yeah, just really wanted to drop that little bit of knowledge out, man. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'll drop a little bit next one. I'll drop a little bit next one, a little bit later out. I do have a few things to discuss, but yeah, I just want to really touch base with that. All right, but you guys have a good time, and I'll see you guys later.